What's up, guys? So I want to talk about the root causes of anxiety. Go ahead and smash that like button down below if you're ready to kick anxiety in the butt, and leave me a comment as well and let me know if you are struggling to identify your root causes of anxiety. So guys, I get messages, comments all the time asking me, Trey, what if I don't know what my root cause is? This is important, and it's always easier. I always say it's easier said than done to figure out your root causes. Luckily for me, I was able to identify a couple fairly quickly, then a couple more a little bit later. Yes, you can have multiple causes of anxiety. There can be many things that influence you. It can be very complicated. So that's why sometimes it's difficult to identify the root causes of your anxiety disorder. Before I go any further, because I may get a little deep into this, because I have tried to record this video many times already, and I have lost my way, and it ended up being some super long video, so I don't want it to be like that. I don't want to bore any of you guys, but I do want to let you know that I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional therapist, psychologist, counselor, or medical doctor. I don't try to replace those people. I honestly think that if you haven't tried therapy, go try it. Whatever you can try to help you with your mental health. But I'm just a normal guy who went through 5 miserable years of anxiety disorders, and I wanted to take my negative experiences with that and my journey to recovery and turn it into something positive and help many of you guys along the way. I just want to help people. That's what this channel's about. So yeah, just want to go ahead and say that before I get deep into this. So guys, when we're talking about root causes, there's some obvious ones and then there's some not so obvious ones. So obviously, I'm going to talk about the not so obvious ones the most, but briefly, I'm going to go over the ones that you may have heard of, the most often. Things like childhood trauma that you can remember, verbal, mental, emotional abuse. That includes things like cyberbullying or bullying. That can often cause many people to have anxiety disorders down the road. Let's see. Living having certain living conditions that can be trauma as well, like harsh living conditions, being homeless, going through issues like that, having, addicts as parents, being surrounded by that whenever you're younger. Addiction in general can lead to anxiety disorders, being dependent on drugs and alcohol, and even things like tobacco or being addicted to food can lead to anxiety disorders. Certain phobias can manifest into anxiety disorders. I'm not going to sit here and say that just because you're scared to fly, that means you're going to have some crazy anxiety disorder, because obviously you don't have to fly a plane every single day. But for instance, with me, the phobia of dying, I was terrified of death. The thought of death freaked me out completely, and I really do think it was a significant part of me developing health anxiety later down the road. So definitely a phobia, if it's something that you have to deal with and process all the time, that can lead to anxiety disorders. Things like divorces or serious breakups that you haven't gotten over can really lead to depression and anxiety disorders. Let's see here. Something else I'm leaving out. Death, obviously death in the family, especially immediate family, like a sibling. I lost a sibling. That was hard on me. Losing a significant other, as well as like a husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, that can be really, really tough. And losing your parents, things like that. Seeing death or experiencing death, that's horrible, and that can really mess you up and lead to anxiety disorders as well. So that's kind of the gist of the obvious ones. Now, there's some not so obvious ones that maybe many of you are interested in, and I'm going to do my best to kind of throw some ideas at you, not to tell you that this is what's going on. Realize I'm just throwing some ideas out there that might help you. Maybe you want to explore further, and I encourage you to do that if you haven't. Now, I mentioned childhood trauma as far as you remembering it and the obvious causes of anxiety. But if you have childhood trauma and you were like under the age of 4, most of us can't really remember much from then. I think the furthest my memory goes back in my own personal childhood was probably like, I remember a few things from whenever I was 4 years old. Maybe subconsciously is different than your conscious memory. So I remember a few things from being like 4 years old, but definitely 4 years old and up, I remember most of it. If something were to have happened to me between the ages of like 1 and 3, that could still have affected me tremendously as an adult, or tremendously affected my life, but I just don't remember it. Also, you can actually block stuff out of your memory as a defense mechanism, especially when you're young, to cope with regular life. Blocking that out of your memory will help you. So sometimes your mind does this. So that's another thing that could be a possibility. Now, if you're sitting here you're watching my video, we're like, if I can't remember it, then how am I going to figure out if that's the cause? Well, you can do a few things. You can see a therapist that maybe they can really help you dive deep. You can try meditation to unlock certain areas of your mind, your subconscious mind. But I would ask family members, especially, family members that were around you a lot whenever you were little, and just ask about certain things. I'm not trying to sit here and say, who sexually abused me, or, were my parents beating me up, but just ask, maybe there was something that traumatically happened to you that was a big deal that maybe your parents didn't think was a big deal, or maybe family friends didn't think was a big deal, but it could have scarred you, and it could have really affected your life in the future. So that's a possibility. Other things like genetics, guys, many of us just overlook genetics. For me, I have both parents that have struggled, with either anxiety or depression. Also, I have a sibling that struggles with depression, and bless their hearts, they're doing okay. They're doing fine, but it's something that they have struggled with. So it's to no surprise that I would be prone to anxiety. Did that mean I was going to develop anxiety without any chance of having an alternative? No, that's not what it means. I still had to learn that behavior, but I was more prone to it. Some of you out there just might be genetically prone to anxiety. So it's more likely that you will learn an unhealthy coping mechanism to deal with your adversities. So you might want to look into that. Let's see what else, some other not so obvious ones. Just your personality in general. I mean, we can argue that goes back to genetics, but for instance, with me, I was a very negative thinker. And really, honestly, when I first developed anxiety, I didn't really realize how much impact my negative thinking had on my anxiety disorder, or had a role in its actual cause. But I was always the person that saw the glass half empty. And this is something that I dealt with from childhood till I was a teenager to young adulthood. And I had it made, in high school, for instance, I had the girl, I had the scholarships to go to college. I had all the friends, the popularity. I was an honor student. I had a nice vehicle. I got to do what I wanted to do. I was a good kid. I was a model student. So there was nothing wrong in my life, but I always found a way to complain and to just be a negative Nancy. That's the best way I can explain it. And I don't know why, but that was just something that defined me at that time. I was a very negative thinker, Debbie Downer, if you will, always seeing things in a negative light. And that could be something that you struggle with, or might have struggled with, through most of your life. Maybe you're a self-conscious type person. Maybe you didn't feel important. Maybe you didn't feel like you belonged. That can lead to an anxiety disorder, especially things like depression. So those are some not so obvious things. Ask around your family, ask around family, friends. Talk to a therapist and see if they can dive a little deeper than what I am, obviously. I'm not a professional qualified therapist. I'm better at, helping you after you've identified your root causes, and then we can develop a plan to help you with that and help you towards recovery. But I'm not the perfect person, to dive in deep and figure out what exactly is causing your anxiety. Some other not so common, but not so obvious root causes can be things like your health, your lifestyle decisions that really influence my anxiety disorders. That can go back to things like addictions, but even eating horribly can lead to anxiety. Your gut health. 90% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut. They call it your second brain. If you're not having adequate amounts of serotonin, that can be the difference between you just having everyday stress and then you having panic attacks, because serotonin helps fight back your stress. So if you don't have enough of it, obviously you're going to lose that battle. So take a probiotic to help with that. Make sure that you're eating a plant-based diet. Cut out all the bad stuff. Cut out all the substance abuse, any of that, and the alcohol, all of that. So guys, I hope I helped you a little bit. I promised that I was going to make this video, and as usual, it's scattered all over the place. But I hope you got value. If you got value, please leave me a like. The description down below has a lot of resources down there. I do have the tips that I give, starting with identifying your root cause. My expertise is really there on after to help you devise a plan, put it into action. Please follow those tips. If you haven't tried therapy, it can change your life. There are therapists out there that are amazing. There are therapists out there that aren't so amazing. But finding the right therapist is important. They can help you really dive deep and figure out your root causes probably a little better than I can. Like I said, I'm really good at helping you after you identify your root cause. But if you haven't tried therapy, there is a link down below in the description. You can choose from thousands of therapists. I believe sessions start at like $45, so that's extremely cheap compared to in-person therapy. And you can talk to somebody like I'm talking to you on the phone, and you can just do it on your couch, on your laptop or your phone. So it's awesome. If you don't want to leave the house or make go schedule an appointment or any of that, you can just do it on your phone. It's amazing. There are some journals down there. If you haven't tried journaling as a way of recovering from your anxiety, try that out. There's a meditation journal. You can be doing that in the morning and evening. Meditation is crucial for anxiety recovery, in my opinion. It really helped transform my mind and my thinking. There's a morning sidekick journal that'll help you get your day started off right. Then a fat loss and nutrition journal. Yes, I promote these in every single video along with the therapy. I believe in them. They work. My social media is down there. So my Snapchat, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook group, or our Facebook group, better way of saying that, because it is a community of over 15,000 people. We're actually getting closer to 16,000 people that have anxiety disorders, and we help each other out. You can get a lot of support there. If you haven't joined that group, go to that group down below in the description and join immediately. But aside from that, guys, I hope you got some value out of this. Just remember, there's some obvious root causes. There's some not so obvious root causes. Ask around in your family. Ask your friends. Go to therapy. Talk to counselors. Do whatever you can. Watch as many YouTube channels like mine and subscribe to them to help you with your anxiety recovery. I can't really tell you what your root cause is. You are going to have to take responsibility and dive deep and make some decisions. Even if you aren't spot on and you make a decision, it can still, take you a long way. So just remember that. Guys, I love you all. Take care. I'll talk to you later.